Team Clocks presents Smart on Fire, application for existing clinical decision support system for hospital discharge decision making, and this is part 2, an architectural overview. My name is Zach Cole, and you will also be hearing from Rob Reagan in this presentation. So at this point we've had some changes in the scope of the project. Originally we planned to integrate as a Smart on Fire app with Cerner's EHR system at Emory Hospital. However, we discovered that Emory's current installed EHR does not support Smart on Fire or all fire resources needed to drive our clinical decision support model. Our OMs have asked us to create an HL7 compliant Fire web app that encapsulates the clinical decision support model. We will work against the test Fire server that they are loading with applicable data. The authentication or authorization will not be used.
Here's our interface mockup. Note that this is a wireframe. We'll make the production version much prettier. Users will have to navigate to the URL for our web front end and will see this screen. Here, they can search for a patient by name or ID. If a search is by ID, either the patient will be found and we will proceed, or the user will receive an alert that no matching patient was found. If the user searches by patient name, it is possible that more than one patient will be found. This screen shows results for Benjamin Franklin. The user can view each patient's address, sex, age, and date of birth, and choose one to continue. Once a patient is selected, we will check to see if they have had a surgery in the last 30 days that is applicable to our model. If so, we will retrieve observations, send them to the model, and return the results to the user for display. This screen shows how we will visualize the results. Probability of readmission is shown on the left, the contributing inputs and their weights are shown in the torus in the center, and clicking on the particular input within the torus will show its graph on the right.
Now let's talk about our architecture at a high level. The idea is as simple as possible, but no simpler. A cloud-based front-end web service will host our web services that empower our Angular front-end, while a cloud-based database will hold model defaults. Our Angular display code will run in the browser. Our web server will call to an HL7 Fire server for patient, procedure, and observation data. Now we'll discuss the logic flow. We will allow users to search for a patient by ID or first and last name. We will either show a table of results if more than one match occurs, or see if one result is found, or show a not found message. For the selected patient, we will retrieve all procedures. If a procedure applicable to the model is not found, we will alert the user. If an applicable procedure is found, we will retrieve all observations. Further, all observations are fed to the CDSS model. The results are calculated and returned to the user's browser for display. Now we'll discuss our tech stack. Microsoft ASP.NET Core Web API will be used for all RESTful web services. This includes patient search and clinical decision support calculation. Angular 1.5 will be used for our client-side MVC. Bootstrap 3 with less will be used for CSS and display widgets. FireNet API will be used for reading from our HL7 compliant Fire server. The framework can be found at the link there. We'll be using SQL Server for storing our model defaults. We may elect to hardcode these into our web application, but this remains to be unseen. We'll be hosting our project on Microsoft Azure. We will use app services for our web front end. We'll use Azure SQL for our SQL Server database. Our Fire test server is set up by our OMs for our purposes. It's just simply cloud-based. We have no control over the server and we'll just make RESTful Fire calls to it. We will use Visual Studio Code, or Visual Studio Community Edition, developer's preference, for authoring our code. We'll host the code on Georgia Tech's GitHub server, and we do plan on turning source code over to our OMs at the end of the semester. We will then transfer the source code to wherever they please. The roles of our team have remained unchanged. Rob, who you heard earlier in this video, will be business analyst, project manager, and developer. Myself will be developer, specifically JavaScript and Angular. Mian Ahmed will be a developer, .NET, along with Raymond Toscano, developer, .NET. Here you will find our project plan and our Gantt chart. Please feel free to pause and take a closer look at these. That's all we have. Thank you guys for listening.